Hi, this is CJ, and today I'm going to show you how to make a pan-seared blackened salmon with a balsamic reduction glaze and steamed broccoli. I'm going to toss that steamed broccoli with a lemon citronette dressing. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the dressing because that has to be refrigerated for a little bit, about 20 minutes at least, so all the flavors blend together and it tastes really, really well. Okay, so for the lemon citronette, you need one large lemon. Now the yield on this is about 1/4 of a cup of dressing, and that should be enough for about 2 cups of broccoli florets. You really don't need that much. This flavor goes a long way. It's got 1 large lemon. We're going to use 2 tablespoons of olive oil, some fresh ground black pepper. I've got a blend here of different peppercorns. I have some Mediterranean sea salt. You just want a pinch of that. We're going to use 1/2 teaspoon of Dijon mustard. That's the typical recipe. There's also an orange citronette, which calls for basically the same thing, except you use the zest of the orange peel. For this lemon one, I'm going to also add, this is a little something I like to use, 2 pieces of sun-dried tomatoes. This is sitting in olive oil and other seasonings. I like to use this because I think it gives it a very nice, unique flavor to the dressing. Something not very typical that you would get at a restaurant or anywhere else. All right, so first let's go ahead and cut our lemon in half. I've got a wire mesh screen. Just go ahead and squeeze that in there. Now, I don't know if you can hear that, but behind me, I currently have the broccoli sitting in a double boiler with a strainer in it so I can steam it. You can see it's right here actually, and I've got the broccoli sitting on top. It's currently steaming. I want to go ahead and get a head start on that. Okay. So we have our lemon juice. Go ahead and just do 1 turn of your sea salt. Black pepper. Here's the Dijon mustard. Mustard, 1/2 teaspoon of that. Okay. Now the olive oil I'm going to add last, and I'll tell you why. Because we want to create an emulsion. As you know, olive oil and lemon juice, the acid, the oil, they don't mix. It's positive and negative, apples and oranges. So the only way this is going to blend together is if you emulsify it. There's 2 ways you can do that. One way is using a food processor. Put all of this into a food processor, add this last. The same thing goes with if you're making aioli sauce, a garlic aioli, a remoulade, where you have a mayonnaise-based sauce, and then you want to emulsify it or build it up using oil. And what you do is you drizzle this oil into the food processor very slowly, and you'll see it starts to build up with volume. Well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use this. Basically, I'm going to put everything in here, then add the olive oil on top. You'll see the olive oil will sit on top. I'm going to shake it, refrigerate it, and you'll be done. Okay, so now we have the 2 strands, or the 2 pieces of the sun-dried tomatoes. Now I'm going to chop these up pretty finely. Okay. Set this aside. Okay, I have my whisk. Twist this all together. Smells very good. Now I have a funnel. Just pour this directly into the funnel. Sorry about that, just need a spoon so I can scrape out the sun-dried tomatoes. Okay, and now we're going to drizzle in our olive oil. Olive oil, you need 2 tablespoons. So we just measure that. 1, 2, 1, 2. It's about 2 tablespoons right there. Put my cork on. Give it a shake. You can see the dressing, how it's coating the bottle. And that's how you know the emulsification process has occurred. It's all blended well together. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and refrigerate this for about 20 minutes. And then I'm going to show you how to make the balsamic glaze for the salmon. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to prepare our balsamic glaze reduction for the pan-seared blackened salmon. You need a pot. You're going to need balsamic vinegar, 1 garlic clove, 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. Try not to use a maple syrup that has butter in it. That's really going to change the flavor of this reduction, and it's going to add more fat content to this reduction. You don't really want fat content. So try to find a nice pure maple syrup that doesn't really have that much fat in or butter. And we're going to use Dijon mustard for this as well. This is 1 tablespoon. Okay. So let's go ahead and we're going to crush our garlic clove. And this we really want. You can either leave it crushed like this or chop it up very finely. You don't want chunks of garlic in this reduction. So if you leave it smashed like this, you can sauce your salmon without getting pieces of the garlic. Or, again, cut it up very finely. I'm going to leave it crushed. Okay. We're going to go ahead and add our 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. One tablespoon of Dijon mustard. And I'm going to measure out 3/4 of a cup of the balsamic vinegar. Okay, there's 3/4 of a cup. Give it a quick whisk. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move this over to the stove. High heat, bring it to a boil. Once it starts boiling, you want to turn it down to medium heat so it gets at a very low simmer. And we're going to reduce this for about 10 to 15 minutes so we can create that nice glaze reduction. Right now it's got a very liquidy consistency. We want it to have almost like a syrup consistency. And that'll be the glaze or the glacé we're going to use for the salmon. So in about 10 or 12 minutes, I will get back to you and show you what this looks like. Okay, so right now what we have is our balsamic glaze is still reducing and it's still bubbling away. Hasn't quite reached that consistency that I'm looking for. So we're just going to keep doing that for a few more minutes. Right now I have some salmon, some blackening seasoning. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the skin off this salmon. We're going to go ahead and put the seasoning on it and we're going to prepare the searing process. So I'll show you what we have. Okay. Here's our blackening seasoning. This is salmon. I bought it fresh, but I wrapped it up in some wax paper, and then I put it in a freezer bag and I froze it overnight. I purchased this yesterday, actually. This is Sockeye salmon. Sockeye has a nice, like blood orange color. It's not that pink color. I absolutely prefer Sockeye over coho or wild Alaskan salmon. I just love the flavor of this. It's just so much better. Over here, I have my pan with butter, and this is what I'm going to use to sear the salmon. Okay. So first thing we want to do is we want to remove the skin off the salmon. I want you to see that color. It's almost blood red. I mean, I know the lighting might make it appear a little bit translucent, a little bit different, but it's a lot darker than you think. It's almost a dark red color, and it just smells completely different than that pink salmon that you would normally get at the store. Okay, I have 3 steak cuts I'm going to use. Okay. And I'm going to get a couple paper towels too, because when you put the dry seasoning on this, you want this to be dry. You don't want it to be wet. When you add a wet product to hot oil, and if you're looking for a searing browning effect, the liquid is going to prevent that from happening. Instead of searing and crusting the outside, you're going to end up braising it, and we don't want to do that with salmon. Okay, so just give this a quick pat. I do have a cat, and she's over there staring at me. She can smell the salmon. Okay. Go ahead and check this glaze out real quick. Now again, 3/4 of a cup of this glaze, remember the balsamic glaze that we made, it's going to reduce a lot. And that's okay, because this isn't a sauce that you want to completely cover your salmon. You just want to drizzle a little bit over the top of it for flavor. That's it. So here's that skin. This is actually a deboning knife. I do have a fillet knife. I like this knife better. It's 10 times sharper, and I just prefer to use this than a fillet knife when I'm taking the skin off. To do that, just get under the fat there. Okay. There we go. I'm going to get a hold on the end of it and just start cutting it down. And once you get the skin off, it's still a little bit frozen, but once you get the skin off, the next step is to generously coat each side with the blackening seasoning. Then we're going to go ahead and sear this in our very hot pan. There we go. That's the hard part. Once you get to this part, it's just simply cutting it down like this. It takes a little bit of practice if you've never done this before. Sockeye salmon does come frozen in the store. Skin's already off of it, so you don't have to go through this process if you don't want to. Here we go. Okay. And there's one. And then I'll get right back to you once I do these other two and show you how we're going to season these up and get these seared off. Okay, I have went ahead and removed the skin from my 3 pieces of salmon steaks. Now I'm going to go ahead and generously rub my blackening seasoning on it. Behind me, I have my saute pan heating up with oil. You want that pan to be fairly hot. Okay. All right. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and start the searing process. Just bear with me a moment so I can readjust the camera so you can see what's going on over here. Okay. You can hear that, so that's obviously ready. Okay, we're going to go ahead and let this sear for a few minutes on one side. Turn it over, let it sear for a few minutes on the other side, and that should be ready to go. Okay, I did want to show you real quick this reduction of the glaze. I want you to see the consistency of this. You can see it's almost very syrupy. Coats the spoon, almost sticks to it. And that's how you know your reduction is complete. And you don't need that much. We're just going to drizzle it right over the top of the salmon. I like to swirl the butter around. That way the sides of the salmon are seared as well, because usually when you sear meat, chicken, fish, you do one side, you flip it over, you do another side, but the edges never get seared and they never get cooked, so they always have that different color. There's a couple techniques in the culinary field that they use. They have a lot of fat content, oil or butter, and they'll actually move, for example, if you're cooking a hanger steak, or if you're just doing one fillet, they'll move the fillet down to the edge of the pan, and they'll tilt it like this, and then all the butter comes down to the edge. On the top, they'll have fresh herbs like rosemary, thyme, oregano, whatever, and as they move it down, they pick up the fat with a ladle, they drop it over the top of the herb. The herb then gets blended in with that fat because it's so hot, and it comes down the pan. Therefore, it's not only cooking and searing, but it's also flavoring and seasoning your fish or your meat. That's when you're working very quickly, if you have a lot of food that you want to prepare at a restaurant. You don't really have time to sit there and sprinkle everything and let everything marinate. You just want to get it going and get it quick. Okay, that's about 3 minutes on that side. I'm going to flip these over. And remember, when you blacken fish, high heat is essential. It's a must. You want high heat because your seasoning won't blacken if it's not high heat. And while that's doing that, I'm going to get a plate ready so I can show you how to plate this. Okay, now over here, probably can't see it in the background, I have some yellow rice that I cooked. I'm going to go ahead and serve that with the salmon. And that broccoli's done. This is our lemon citronette. Give it a quick shake. This is what's going to go on the top of the broccoli. I decided in the end, I'm sorry I didn't mention this in the previous recording, when I showed you the step-by-step instructions on how to make this. I decided I wanted to add a little bit of dill to this. I was going to garnish the broccoli with some fresh dill, and I was going to show you that. Instead, I decided I wanted to have the dill in the flavor of the citronette. So I took some dried dill. Now, as you know, when you use a dry spice versus an herb, herb means fresh, spice means dried, you want to use half of that. So if it calls for 1 tablespoon, for example, of fresh dill, half that and use dry spice herb, or spice dill. I went ahead and threw that in there. That'll give it a nice flavor. And give this a swirl again. You can definitely smell that blackening seasoning. Don't overcook your salmon. You want it flaky. Give that about another 20 seconds. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get the rice ready. And I'm going to show you how I plate my rice. I'll just move this over here so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. I'm going to check my salmon real quick. Give them one more final turn. Turn the heat off. And that should be ready. Okay, for the rice, when I serve rice, this is yellow rice. Put them in a bowl first. And then I pat it down. A lot of restaurants do this. Especially the Spanish restaurants or the Cuban restaurants, and they put beans on top of it. Okay, so we've got a pat. Take my plate. I'm going to put that over first, grabbing the bottom. I'm going to flip. You can see how the rice is plated, just like this. And then I'll end up doing that with each one, but I'm just going to show you one for right now. Our salmon is done. You can see that nice blackened color in the salmon. You can see that. Okay, the next step is we're going to go ahead and we're going to take our broccoli, our steamed broccoli, these are florets, so just a little bit around the edge. And then we're going to finish with the citronette sauce. I'm going to drizzle this over the broccoli. That's about all you need. There you have it. Pan seared blackened sockeye salmon, yellow rice with saffron that comes pre-packaged, steamed broccoli florets, with a nice lemon, sun-dried tomato, and dill citronette sauce. Thank you for watching. I hope you tune in next time to see what delicious meals I have for you. I forgot to show you the basil, the balsamic vinegar reduction. Probably one of the most important ingredients of this entire recipe, and I failed to tell you. Sorry folks, I'm only human. Okay, we're just going to drizzle this over the top of the salmon. Try not to get any of the garlic. Okay, that's about all you need. Tastes very good. And I promise this time, there you have it.